We are live. What's good, Josh? Your man DL Saint. Welcome. I really want to know podcast. This is our second episode of the day. We got one more at midnight, which is technically tomorrow, but y'all know what it is. Appreciate y'all coming out. We had a really good episode earlier, man. We were talking about arranged relationships and what that might look like. Is that a good idea? Is it a bad idea? It was a good show, man. Shout out to my man Rook. Cody is King was in the building. Viking Paradigm, Scam Likely was there. Based Oracle. Appreciate y'all, man. We're getting a lot of folks, willing to jump up here and join us. This episode, we're going to be talking about that airborne life. You guys know, you can see from the flag behind me, I'm a former paratrooper, United States Army. I was at Fort Bragg. It's a different name now. What is it? Is it Fort Freedom or something now? Whatever. But I was at Fort Bragg for the majority, but I was in the Army for 4 years active. 3 of those years I spent at Fort Bragg. I was on jump status. I did a lot of jumps. And then people just don't understand the dangers associated with being airborne. They don't understand the dangers associated with being in the military, period. Right? So it's definitely something to discuss. I found a few videos, a couple shorts, and then one video we need to watch that really shows how easy it is to fuck yourself up in the airborne world, right? So let's get into it. And we are live. What's good, y'all? Welcome to the I Really Want to Know podcast, y'all. Get some indeed. Shout out to everybody on X. This is the first time I've streamed on X. I'm seeing everyone else do it. I'm like, you know what? Let me go ahead and reach out. We're gonna start with X. We'll probably move over to Facebook, maybe even Instagram. I think we can stream on Instagram. And yeah, we're gonna do what we got to do. I probably do Instagram next and then Facebook last. I'm not a huge fan of Facebook, but it is what it is. I'm there, been on there forever. People send me, I just never check the messages. People are like, you're not responding to my message on Facebook. Like, I don't look at Facebook, man. Hit me on Instagram. I'm that dude. Brother Jack Black is in the building. What's good, night? That's right. The new Templars down here in Tampa, man. We're making moves. We're doing some stuff, man. We're going to be working with the Fresh and Fit fam. Castle Club is, we got some stuff in the works, guys. We got some stuff in the works. And it's going to be pretty cool. All of the nights, including myself, are going to be involved. We're looking forward to it. You're gonna put in some good work. So yeah. So let's get into what we want to talk about, man. Like, the military life is very dangerous. I mean, you could be a cook, you could be a mechanic, you can be a clerical specialist or something like that. Some sort of admin specialist. And whenever you go to train in the United States military, whenever you go to the field, people get hurt. That's just part of being, whether you're in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, or a Space Force, you can get hurt in the United States military. You just never know what missions are going to come down the pike. You never know what your country is going to ask of you, actually order you to do. So, I enlisted to be a paratrooper. That's what I always wanted to be. It was my goal as a kid. I wanted to wear my maroon beret and jump boots and be high speed. That's all I wanted to do. I lucked into 93 Charlie, which was my specialty, air traffic control specialist. I lucked into that. I didn't even know the Army offered that. And I got guaranteed airborne school with that. And I'm like, this is great. The thing was, because I was airborne, my life as an air traffic controller in the United States Army was way different than most air traffic controllers. I was doing way different stuff, right? Which was cool. I was doing the hood stuff. Which included us jumping out of airplanes to start our mission. Yes, start the mission. That's just how that shit works, bro. Like, you get in the bird, they fly beyond enemy lines. We get dropped well behind enemy lines. As soon as we touch the ground, we're surrounded, and then we can begin our mission, whatever that mission is. The whole parachute thing, being airborne thing, is just a way to get us there. So, and that airborne world, everyone involved in it is hood. It's absolutely hood. When you're looking at tip of the spear type dudes. You're looking at people who are a part of the Ready Brigade, the Defense Ready Brigade. They call it something different now. It was DRB when I was in, but they use another acronym. But it's basically those people who aren't on call, those people who have to respond immediately. You get that page, and you got 2-hour recalls, you got a week recall. Sometimes you got guys who are simply standing by. They can just to run out and suit up and go. Right. So being a part of that is dangerous. And if you're not, you can't get into that world and be afraid to die. You don't want to die. You don't welcome death, but you're certainly talking to death every time you load up in the back of a C-130, C-141, C-17, C-5, Chinook, right? CH-47 or Black Hawk, UH-60. Whenever you load up in one of these aircraft with your parachute on and all your gear, yeah, it's a good chance you might get jacked up. So I found a couple of videos that I wanted to share. And for those of you guys who are watching on Team Replay, please share and like the video if you think this is something cool. If you know anyone who is considering joining the United States Army or the Marine Corps or whatever branch, and they're going to airborne school, if they have any questions, they can hit me up. You can find me on Instagram. I really want to know podcast, all one word. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability. I know folks younger people who just got out of the military, they can answer your questions. And I'm pretty sure if I tried hard enough, I can find some guys who are currently serving as paratroopers in the United States Army. And here's the thing about airborne school. It's at Fort Benning, Georgia. Any member of the United States military, the Army, of course, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Space Force, if they're wearing wings on their chest, those wings you see behind me, if you see wings on their uniform, they earned those wings at Fort Benning, Georgia, or whatever they're calling Fort Benning now. I know they changed the names of a bunch of military installations. That's where U.S. Army Airborne School is. All the SEALs, all the Recon Marines, all of the MARSOC Marines, all of the pararescue guys in the Air Force, combat control teams in the Air Force, all of anybody who's got wings on their chest, they earned those wings at U.S. Army Airborne School. They were dealing with black hats who were like the jump masters in the cadre there. We're going to talk about the different color hats in that world, black hats versus the guys who wear the red hats. We're going to talk about that. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I enjoyed it. If my body could hold up, I'd jump today if I could, but my body will not hold up. You make sacrifices and you pay later. It's the ultimate buy now, pay later. And all the old soldiers told me that, all the old paratroopers, like, you're going to feel this when you get into your 50s. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to live forever. You know what I mean? I'm hardcore airborne hood. And sure enough, I hit my 50s, man. I'm hurting. I'm hurting right now. Every day I get up, every day I wake up, I got hip issues, I got back issues. My knees sometimes give out on me. I wouldn't trade a thing. If you gave me a brand new body and made me 18 again, I'll go right back to airborne school and jump some more. I really loved it. I really did. But it's very dangerous. So we got the first video. So this is one of two videos. In this video shows a complete malfunction of a jumper's parachute on a jump. This is a practice op. They're out there just jumping, doing their thing. It's not routine in the sense that this jump was in the daytime. Normally, our jumps, most of our jumps, I would say 80% of our jumps were at night, because if you're going to go somewhere, if you're going to jump, it's going to be at night. More than likely, it's very rarely you're going to jump into a situation in the daytime. But this video shows a jumper exit the aircraft. I think they're jumping C-17s, and his or her parachute didn't deploy properly. Is what we call a complete malfunction. It just didn't work at all, right? And it rolled up in such a way that we call them cigarette rolls. Like it rolled up, and the jumper was just going down fast. So we're trained to deal with this. If you're wearing wings on your chest, if you're airborne, especially if you're on jump status, you're trained to do this. Sucks if you deal with this on your first jump out of airborne school. right? In order to earn those wings, you need 5 jumps. You get your first 5 jumps in airborne school. Anyone who's wearing those wings, they got 5 jumps. But that doesn't mean shit to an airborne unit. You still a cherry, right? You need your cherry blast, your cherry jump, which means that's your 6th jump. And it would suck if you're on your sixth jump and you encounter a complete malfunction. That is just horrible. You have different malfunctions. There are partial malfunctions, there are complete malfunctions. And we'll get into that a little bit more as we watch this video. But check out this video. Right, you're gonna see all the people that jump out with you, and you're gonna see right away. It's not gonna take you long. You're gonna be wondering like, well, which guy's having trouble? You'll be able to see it. You'll be able to see it. So let's get into it, man. Let's check this out. There he is.
Oh shit. Fuck yeah. Ooh.
So you hear those paratroopers, right? You see those guys are on the deck already. They're just chilling on the drop zone on the DZ. So they're probably jumping for currency. They're jumping with their equipment. They're jumping with weapons. These are probably grunts. You know, these are probably guys right out of the 82nd. I doubt which, I don't know where in the 82nd, which unit, but these are the dudes. And it's a daytime jump, so they're probably jumping for currency. Obviously, there's no mission because those guys are all just sitting around. No one's being tactical. They're just kind of sitting, waiting for everybody to jump. Right? So that guy jumped out and his parachute didn't work at all. He had the cigarette roll. So the way we are trained, you know, paratroopers, they count to 4, right? Every paratrooper, everybody wearing those wings can count to 4. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. By the time you get to 4,000, normally around 2.5, 3, you will get what's called an opening shock. And it's a jolt. There's no misunderstanding the opening shock. Like if you don't get the opening shock, you fucking know it. And if you're still counting, right, there's things you got to do. You get to 6, you better have your reserve already out and deployed. They train us how to do it. Now, the parachutes that they're jumping now, I never had to jump. These parachutes look new to me. And the reserve parachutes they carry were not the same as the reserve parachutes that we carried. You know, the military is always adapting and changing and trying to make it better. So the guy came out, he counted 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. And then he realized, like, oh shit, I got a problem. He never got that opening shot. He deployed his reserve. I think that he was caught off guard. I think that reserve should have came out a little faster. Right? I think it should have came out a little faster. But he did deploy it. And he landed safely. Right? He went out. He was the second stick. So if you look at all these guys closest to the ground, they jumped out of the plane long before these guys were even there, right? And there he is down there. That's the guy. He's going to land like number 2, right? So what the airplanes do, what the Air Force does on these missions, they'll fly by and they'll drop off what we call a stick. And it might be, I don't know, 20 guys, 30 guys, 40 guys, whatever it is. The C-17 holds so many soldiers. I don't know how many they push out. You know, in the C-130, it was maybe 8 to 12 of us they will push out. And then they do a racetrack. They fly a racetrack and they come back and they do another pass and then they drop off the next group. So the guy whose parachute didn't open was part of the second group. You can still see his people that he jumped out with are still up in the air, way up in the air. But he's about to land. He's all the way down here. He actually landed with the dudes who jumped out before him. The airplane flew all the way around in a big circle. And then he jumped, and then he jumped out and his parachute didn't work. And he went all the way down to the guys before him before he was able to deploy his parachute. And he still ended up landing first or second of the guys who jumped out before him, which means he was falling like a brick. He still landed hard, even though his reserve deployed and his main is still kind of messed up. but he was able to get full lift from his reserve, and it worked. Cody's King is in the building. What's good, fam? He's like, oh, well. He's like, oh, wow. I guess shit does fall from the sky. Paratroopers fall from the sky. Death from above, bro. You look up and see us coming, you got a problem. So yeah, man, like that was what he did, what he was trained to do. Let's see if we can watch that again.
Ooh.
Spinning like a fucking Beyblade.
And he hit the ground first.
He hit the ground first. So there he is. He comes out. He's got a streamer, cigarette roll. He's got a streamer. Look how fast he's falling.
Oh shit!
Look, he didn't deploy that reserve until he was with the stick that jumped out before him. And you can see there's he's got like two parachutes, one that works, one that doesn't. The other one's kind of working. He's still falling faster than these other jumpers. Like I'm pretty sure he hit pretty hard, but he's alive. He walked away from that. He has a great story to tell. Right? He has a great story to tell. That's how it works, bro. So again, look at that streamer.
Oh shit!
Fuck yeah.
Look at that streamer.
Ooh.
That was crazy, right? Of all the jumps I've been on, of all the missions I've been on, I never saw that. I never saw someone come out with a streamer, a cigarette roll, whatever you want to call it. We have other malfunctions called a Mae West, which is basically when your parachute kind of bubbles in two, like you get something is tangled on the parachute and kind of withhold it. So instead of just having one big canopy, you have these two bumps that look like Mae West or a Dolly Parton, right? That's why they call it that way. And that's a malfunction. Now, is it a complete malfunction or is it a partial malfunction? Well, it depends on how fast you're falling. If you got any lift. And again, this is how we're trained. We know how to deal with it. There's stuff that you do. Old Joe is in the building. What's good, fam? Terrifying is right, man, but that's that airborne life. That is entry level into the special forces world. Think about that, right? You just dropping fries in the restaurant of special forces, right? Everyone has to be airborne. If you want to get to the tip of the spear, everyone at the tip of the spear is airborne and better. That's just the baseline. So, that guy's malfunction absolutely would have killed him if he didn't deploy his reserve. 100%. No way he was walking away from it. And we'll play it again. It's just, it took so long for that paratrooper to activate his reserve.
Ooh.
Spinning like a fucking Beyblade.
Yeah, like dude's all jacked up, but he survived that jump.
And
So
he hit the ground first.
we're gonna watch it one more time. And I'll take a drink to him surviving airborne. If you see how far he fell. These are the guys that he jumped with. These guys kind of from left or right are the guys who went out first, right? So he was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He was easily number 7, 8, or 9. We can't tell if there's more guys who jumped out before him. He was somewhere towards the middle back of the stick. Look how fast he's falling. These guys jumped out, and then the airplane did that big circle and came back, and then these guys jumped out, and he's about to catch up in the free fall with these dudes. Now, here's something about jumping, right? Let me make it bigger so you guys can see it. He jumped out back here, back of the stick, towards the middle or end of the stick. Look how far he has fallen compared to the jumpers he went out the door with. And these are the guys who went out the door before him, right? Minutes before him. And he's about to catch up with him. What may have happened, these paratroopers up here are screaming down to him, pull your reserve, pull your reserve. These paratroopers down here are looking up, screaming up to him, pull your reserve, pull your reserve. There's a very real possibility that is what these people are saying. because this guy's he's streaming down, and he's probably like, I didn't get an opening shot. You know, he's sitting there trying to process what's going on. Like, I didn't get an opening shot. What's going on? He probably looked up, and he, you know, one of the things you do, you look up and you expect to see this big old canopy. He's looking up and he doesn't see that. He just sees this thing swinging in the wind, and then people are screaming, "Hey, pull your reserve," which again they might be doing. I don't know. And then he finally pulled his reserve right around here when he caught up with these guys who jumped well before he did. And then he pulled his reserve. So these guys probably screaming, "Pull your reserve, pull his reserve," or he just relied on his trainer. It just took a while to sink in, and he's still falling fast.
Ooh.
Right, he's still falling fast. Just about caught up with the guys who came out the door first on that pass, and then bam, hits. He's alive. I never saw a streamer when I was jumping ever. I've seen people get jacked up on the DZ, but not because of that. I've seen guys who just made mistakes, and we'll talk about some of the mistakes that could be made. We'll talk about the rules of the air when it comes to the airborne. But I've never seen that. That's a rarity, right? All the parachutes are packed by people who wear red hats. They're called riggers. That is their job. Their sole purpose in the military, in the United States Army, is to pack parachutes. That's all they do. Now, the thing with the riggers, every parachute they pack, there's a little log that they place in the harness that you put on. It's like one of the harnesses there. It's a little pouch. You can pull out the pouch. There's a little log book, and you can open up the log book. And the person who packed your parachute, it will be their rank, their name, and I think the date they packed the chute or something like that. Right. So what we used to do with the cherries, those guys, their first jump out of airborne school, the new guys, we'll sit back and start, pulling out those logs, the parachute logs. And we're like, "Hey man, who packed your chutes?" We're talking like all senior parachute, all senior parachuters, senior guys. They're like, "Hey man, who packed your chute?" And they opened up and like, looks like Sergeant Aquaman packed mine. Start laughing. "Who packed yours?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got PFC Flash packed mine." And then the guy maybe next to me be like, "Yeah, I got Superman. I got Special Superman." So the rookie, the cherry, no matter what their rank is, the cherry is going to be sitting there like, "You guys are just fucking with me." "Well, you think we are? We'll pull out your log and see who packed your chute." And then, of course, he'll reach in there, pull it out, and open it up, and it finds out that Private Wolverine packed his chute. And they just sit there like they want to start crying. "You ain't getting off the bird now, bro. We airborne. We in the air. We jumping in about an hour or 45 minutes or whatever. Depends on how long the mission is for the Air Force. We jumping. And you jumping with us with your parachute packed by Wolverine." Now, I'm pretty sure today, and even back then, they had ways to figure out who packed what chute. So even though they're writing down these bogus names, I'm pretty sure there's another log somewhere, like this parachute was issued to, Private so-and-so, Special so-and-so. So I'm sure there's double redundancy. But, it was just a tradition, I guess, with us. Like, we just would open that log up, and these guys are just writing in these random names. We still jump. It was just hilarious. Brother Ojo's like, "Why didn't that guy cut away from the bad chute?" Because of the distance from the deck, bro. When you hear about cutting away and all that kind of stuff, now you're dealing with the people who jump from high altitude, man. You're talking about the helo guys. Right now you're getting into the more experienced Rangers, the Scroll Rangers. You got the Green Berets. They jump from thousands of feet above the deck. That's a different world. They have to cut away. But when you're jumping, with the airborne, bro, the highest jumps I've ever had when I was in was like 2,200 feet. And I was in Fort Benning, like our last jump. I think that was the highest I've ever jumped. 22, maybe 2,500 feet above the ground, AGL. When we got to Bragg, man, we were jumping anywhere from 800 to 1,200 feet. There's no time to cut away from shit. You saw how fast he was flying. If he would have sit there, try to grab a knife and cut away the bad chute and then open and deploy his reserve, he'll smack the ground long before he got his knife out. Right? So we're not trained to cut away. We're trained to deploy the reserve. That's why we got it. Got another parachute on your stomach, bro. You better use it. And they're like, "Well, what if I can't figure it out?" They're like, "Hey, you got the rest of your airborne life to figure it out." Right? Because it's about to be over. So that's right. And definitely a good job on his part. Right. He eventually figured out what was going on. He saved him. Now, there's another video. This is part 1 of 2 videos. There's another video. Same jump. Same jump. Let's check this out. Look at that. Another streamer.
Holy shit. 2 in a fucking row.
That's unheard of. You hear those other guys twice. Damn, what the fuck?
Fuck.
And did y'all hear that one guy? He said, and here's the difference. That guy actually pulled his reserve on time. Remember what I was talking about in the other video? It took so long for that guy to pull his reserve. Right? Same aircraft, same jump. This is like another stick, maybe 2 or 3 sticks later, because the C-17 holds a lot of jumpers. I'm not sure how many the C-17 holds. The C-130, 64 jumpers. The C-141, 110 jumpers. The C-17, I think, is 200 plus jumpers. It might be more than that. I really don't know how many jumpers the C-17 holds, but it's a boatload. The thumbnail is a picture of inside of a C-17. I never jumped one. The C-17s were just coming online in the early 90s, towards the mid 90s when I was getting out. So I left Bragg in 93, never jumped a C-17, but I think the C-17s were coming online when I went to Korea. And then I got out of the Army, active Army from Korea. So I never got to jump one. It would have been great. So the fact that streamers are rare in the first place, to have two streamers, right? Like 2 cigarette rolls on one jump, some riggers in trouble. The rigger NCOs, they're gonna have to find out who the fuck packed those chutes. What happened? Someone made a major mistake, and here's the thing: those chutes get packed months in advance. They sit around, right? They only let them sit for so long, and then they go out and they jump them. If they haven't been jumped in rotation, they'll just call up some people and just have them go jump. A lot of times they'll just get a Black Hawk or something, and they'll just burn through those chutes. So the Black Hawk will land, everybody will suit up, get on. Black Hawk goes up, everybody jumps. The Black Hawk comes down, everybody gears up again, and they'll just burn through parachutes. My unit actually got called or invited to do this one weekend. I actually went home that weekend, and when I came back, they were like, "Bro, we went out. It must have been like a Friday or Saturday or some shit." They're like, "Man, we went out. We must have got 10 jumps each." I'm like, what? Like, yeah, we were jumping helos, man. We were jumping Black Hawks. We just went up, jumped, came down, put on another one, got GMP out, went up, jumped out, and they just did that. They were like, "Yeah, bro, we got like 10 jumps each." It was like all of our TAC teams. I think they went to our company, and they're like, all of the TAC teams in the 1st or 58th, all from all the platoons get to go jump. And I couldn't jump because I was at home. It's crazy. OJ was like, "Thanks, DL. I'll be back later for the podcast." Yeah, man, we got one at midnight with Michelle. It's going to be a good one. So appreciate you coming through, brother. I do. Casual Germs in the building. What's good, fam? I would not want the job of a rigger, bro. A lot of responsibilities there. There was definitely something wrong when you go one jump and have 2 streamers. Never seen it, never heard of it. But we're going to watch that again in a minute. You're like, that's too much anxiety for me. And the thing with the riggers is they come through there and they'll just randomly grab a bunch of them and tell them, "Hey, we jump in this chute, we jump in that chute." And they'll just take them up and they jump. I guess that's one of the ways to keep them honest. Like, we want to make sure you're paying attention because you might have to jump any one of these parachutes. So let's watch that again.
He pulled his on window. Look at him.
So look at that. Look at that. And then bam, he pulls the reserve right away. Right away.
2 in a fucking row.
That never happens. 2 in a row. And it looks like both of them are now deployed.
Fuck.
Yeah. He pulled his on window. Look at him.
One more time, guy. Look at this, man. So he jumps out 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, right? 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. He's pulling his chute,
shit.
and it deploys. Like there's nothing else he could do. He's pulling his chute.
Fucking row.
And here's the thing: a lot of people were like, well, wouldn't they have known about the guy who just had the streamer who just jumped in that earlier, maybe 10 minutes earlier in that one stick? No, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know. They may have phones on them. But then you're not in a position where you're sitting around texting. There are so many things you got to do inside that aircraft, getting prepared for that jump. There's so many jump commands going on. One day we'll find that when you go through the process of what they do inside the aircraft when they're getting ready to actually walk out the bird. There's so much you got to do. You have absolutely zero time to be sitting around on your phone trying to figure out, like, getting a text from your buddy who's on the deck. And the jump masters and the Air Force guys, they're all busy with what they have to do in that aircraft. Their hands are full. They're not going to radio up. There's plenty of people. You got Air Force and Army Pathfinders on that drop zone in communication with the crew of that plane, but they're giving them information about the winds, the surface winds aloft. They're talking about any systems in the area, any dark clouds or whatever. They're telling them about if there's any live ranges going on within X amount of radius. They're not going to say, oh, we had a streamer, some guy almost burned in, but he deployed his chute. I don't think they're going to say that to the pilots. The pilots are too busy flying and doing everything they got to do. They're conducting a separate mission. They're getting different things out of the training. But this is that airborne life. Let's watch it one more time. Let me put myself down here. Here we go.
Fuck.
Yeah. He pulled his on one though. Look at him.
We'll stop it there. They're like, that guy pulled his on time. Let's go back to the very first one so you can see what they're talking about. Right? These guys are coming out. No problem. Right? This guy comes out 1,000, 2,000. By this time, he's at 8,000. He ain't pulled it. Still hasn't pulled it. Now he pulls it and it catches air.
Fuck yeah.
And the guy who said fuck yeah was like, yeah, that's great, because he was moments away from dying. He deployed his reserve parachute, but he took too long.
Ooh.
And this is what they're talking about. Now, here's again, same guys are out there watching, and here it is. There we go, another one.
Hey. Holy shit. 2 in a fucking row.
You see how fast he pulled the reserve? He iced his training. He iced it, nailed it.
Fuck.
Yeah. He pulled his on one though. Look at him.
That's the airborne life, boys and girls. That is the airborne life. Shout out to the airborne. This is what paratroopers do. This is training. This is simple training. This is just a training jump, not even a real mission type jump. This is just, hey, we're just jumping. It's daytime. Now imagine you're jumping at night. You can't even see how fast you're falling compared to the other jumpers. So whenever you jump, right, you count 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. You get that opening shot. The opening shot will make you grimace. It's like, ugh. It's like putting on a harness, clipping that harness, the other end of the harness to a car, and have that car take off 0 to 30 miles. Like just take off. It's like, oh shit. It's like that. It's an opening shock. That's hence the term, opening shock. You get shocked, right? Your equipment, everything moves around like, oh shit. And then when you're getting ready to land, you have to release your rucksack and all that equipment. When that thing gets to the end of its rope, the end of its, tether, that jerks you around, because you got at least 100, probably 105, anywhere between 70 and maybe 100, 115 pounds or so, depending on, what your job is and stuff like that. We had a lot of bombs, bullets, and Band-Aids. So on our TAC teams, I think the average ruck was about 90 pounds, right? The heavy rucks were about 100, 115 pounds, somewhere in that nature. We couldn't wait to get that shit off. And I was a small guy. I only weighed 140, 150 pounds when I got into the Army. By the time I got to Bragg, I was probably 150, maybe 160. I'm still a lightweight. I'm carrying 80 to 105 pounds worth of equipment. And once we jump, you got to put all that on your back and go do what you got to do. But at nighttime, right, it's hard to see. Compare your rate of descent to the other jumpers. So maybe it was lucky that this happened during the day. And this is why everything is based on those numbers: 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. No opening shock. You got to pull your reserve. No questions asked. You ain't looking at shit. You got to pull your reserve. If you get a partial opening shock, you need to look up and see what type of parachute you have above you. Is it a big round parachute with no holes in it, right? No extra tears, no craziness. You know what I mean? No fluttering around like this. All right, cool. Now you look around you. Compare yourself to your rate of descent. Your rate of descent to the jumpers around you. Like, okay, I'm good, right? And you look down the ground. You're looking at the horizon. You're looking for the tree line at nighttime. You can, if the moon's out, you can see the tree line, and then you prepare to land. I've had partial malfunctions. I've never had a complete malfunction. Brother Rook's in the building. I've never had a complete malfunction, but watching this, 2 complete malfunctions on the same jump, insane. Now we're gonna watch one more video and then we're gonna wrap this up. This wasn't gonna be a long, podcast by choice, guys. I just wanted to show a couple things just to show you how dangerous it is and how you can get hurt. So we're gonna watch a jump from a C-130, C-130J. There was a towed paratrooper. So what's a towed paratrooper? Basically, that's a paratrooper who's stuck. He's towed somehow. He couldn't fall away from the aircraft, and he's stuck on the outside of the aircraft, and he's probably bouncing against the C-130. He's just kind of out there, just getting bounced off this airplane, right? Or that's a towed jumper, and we get trained on how to handle that. So we're gonna pull this screen up. This injury that we're about to witness right now, this shit you're about to see, is extremely painful, extremely dangerous. This guy really got himself into a situation, and because he was not compliant with all of our training as far as being a paratrooper. Now, when we jumped C-130s, this was the early 90s, we actually jumped out of the C-130. So you were trained in airborne school to get in the door. You actually stand in the door, and then you get the order to go, to get the jump command, green light, go, you jump out. You actually put your hands on either side of the door, right? It's open, of course. You got your hands on the leading edges of the door, and you jump out. You literally get to the edge, hop out, and put your feet and knees together, your legs together, chin in tight, arms close in on your side, and you count. Right, you got your hands spread like so. Your right hand is covering the ring of your reserve parachute. It was actually it's like a big ring, kind of like I don't know how to describe it, but your hand can cover it. So you cover it, and you would actually wrap your hand around it to pull that thing. That's how we jumped back then. They have different parachutes now. They're reserve parachutes. I don't know how they activate those. But what you're about to witness, these guys are jumping from a C-130. This looks like the last stick, which again, this is the last group of guys to jump out. They're jumping out of both doors. So it's probably 8 to 12 guys. I mean, if you want to count them as they go out, you can. However many went out one door is probably the same amount that went out the other door. And then you'll see jump masters. There's guys inside with Army helmets on and camouflage. Those are jump masters. They have on different types of parachutes. And then you have two guys with gray helmets, 2 people with gray helmets and green flight suits. That's the flight crew. That's part of the Air Force flight crew, probably the load master and crew chief or something like that, right? And, I'm not going to bore you with the details of how the Air Force and Army split responsibility inside the aircraft, who's responsible for what. but the Air Force is responsible to pull in all of the static lines, which are attached to the D bags that we call D bags. But that is the portion of the parachute that remains on the static line. That's what actually pulls the parachute out, and it comes away, opening your parachute so you can land. They got to pull that stuff in. And they have a device that helps them pull that in. I didn't know about it because I didn't go to jump master school, but I was sitting here watching this video and I'm like, oh, okay, that's how they get them shits in, because some of the C-130s didn't have that when I was in, and the jump masters had to pull them down static lines back in, and they would tell stories of how hard it was. Like they were like just two of them grunting and pulling and trying to get them things in there. Now it looks like one person could pull them in with the help of this device that they use. So let's watch this, guys. This is when I saw this is why I decided to do the show. I'm like, this dude got himself fucked up. But let's check this out. The jump master sees something. He's talking like, oh shit, he sees something. He's telling Air Force what to do. We need to hook up that device. He's telling the other jump master, like, hey, we got a problem over here. What's the problem? You have this female crew chief who seems to be a little lost, and she's trying to get this shit done. She's probably just a rookie. And she's doing her best to get her job done, but you can see she's not real sure. Why is she so nervous? Why is everybody moving around? Why does that? And you're gonna see why here in a minute. So the crew chief secured the other door. Now he's coming to see what she's doing. He knows what's going on. So he's redoing her work. He's getting the stuff in there. Again, it's not because she's a female. She's probably a rookie. She's never had to deal with this shit. He's the more experienced crew member. He's going through her stuff. That's not right. Let's fix this. Get this over here. All right. He's moving as fast as he can, but he's being steady. Right now, he's reattached to the static line, the anchor line cables in the aircraft. He's attaching the device to all of the static lines. Why does this guy pick up the camera? He's taking his time. He's being methodical. But he's worried. He knows this is important. Right. And now they're using the device that's going to pull everything in. Right. The pilots of the aircraft probably have no idea what's going on. So now he's like, okay, got this thing squared away. We're good. Let's pull them in. Let's pull in these static lines. He's still working on it. Right. He's fucking nervous as hell too. It's a lot riding on this. The shit was done wrong. He had to unattach and reattach. Precious time is being wasted here because they're in full-blown panic mode. Right. So now he's doing this thing. She's staying out of the way. He's more experienced. She's like, let me fix all this shit. All right, I got that together. All right, cool. All right, we're good to go. All right, let's pull them in. Let's pull in these static lines. This shit seems like it's taking forever. Right? Forever. Now they got it squared away. The device is working. They're pulling in the static lines. Oh, what do we have here? It's a fucking paratrooper who was stuck on the side of the airplane.
Stop it. Back it off. Back it off.
They pulled him back in. Look, his static line is wrapped completely around his arm. How the fuck did that happen?
Pull his arm down. Pull it down.
That arm is limp. That arm is probably yanked out of his shoulder. He cannot use that arm. It's wrapped around his legs. He's all kind of fucked up. They're getting his reserve off of him. The guy's screaming.
Around his fucking arm. Take your belt off.
You hear the order? Put a tourniquet on his arm.
Put it around his fucking arm.
The dude is screaming.
We don't know if he's cut. Hey, on the ankle, tell him that we got a static line injury. It's really bad. Fucking bad. Tighten this shit down. Tighten it the fuck down.
Whoop. I'm gonna pause it right there. So whoever's barking those orders is they're obviously in command. They're probably the senior jump master on that bird. Right? He told him like put a tourniquet on it. He was screaming, get that equipment off of him. We don't know if he's cut because static lines can cut. Static lines can mangle. I've seen a lot of guys with static line injuries. They mangle. This dude comes in the bird. He's screaming. He's in extreme pain. Who knows how much of his arm has been damaged? What's been ripped, torn? Who knows? He was stuck more than likely against the airplane, probably bouncing against the C-130 as they're flying. The crew, they're just flying. Whatever their plan was to fly, because again, this was the last stick. So they're like, all the jumpers are gone. Now it's time to go home or do whatever it is they're supposed to do. And, so the guys, he's barking orders. Yo, tell him we have a severe static line injury. Now the crew's going to have to declare an emergency and they're going to have to haul ass back to wherever they jump from. I think these guys are in Benning. So they're going to have to go. They're going to haul ass back to, Carnes Army Airfield and have medical standing by, probably have a dust off helicopter, right? Dust off is like emergency evac. They're probably going to have them standing by. They're going to come on, get this guy stabilized, get him off the bird. Let's continue. Let's watch the rest of this. Let's see what happens.
Tighten it down real tight, all the way. If he's fucking bleeding, we're stopping it before it happens, okay? Now leave it right there and hold pressure and don't let it go. Put your hand underneath his armpit.
Yeah, dude hurt. He needs some morphine.
Just hold what you got, you'll be all right.
Hold what you got, Airborne. You hear that a lot. Hold what you got. He's trying not to scream. They're worried that his arm might be cut, maybe an artery. They don't know. They can't see any blood. They don't know, but they have to assume that there's some cut. There's maybe a cut there. They have to do their best to take whatever steps necessary to help this guy out. If this guy has some sort of artery cut somehow, he could bleed out. Simply because they can't see the fluids. It could be, inside of his uniform. They don't know. So they're taking every precaution necessary. They got him stabilized as best as they can get him stabilized. They're on the phone, declaring emergencies, telling them what they need when this aircraft land. That crew is going to land that airplane and haul ass to wherever they need to do, where they need to go, and get this guy on so he can get the help that he needs. And this is going to sound cold. I know a lot of people are like, damn, this is crazy. This part right here is going to sound cold-blooded. But the guy that's laying there in pain, screaming, this is all his fault. He did not exit the aircraft properly. Remember what I said before? You literally jump out. You walk up to the leading edge of that door. You jump out. You got your elbows tight to your side, right? You got your one elbow up. You give that static line to the jump master. You immediately put your elbow down and tight. You got your hands spread, covered over your reserve parachute. You jump out, feet, knees together. You're looking down, right? You're looking down. You jump. This is how you actually look. You're looking down at your feet and you're counting 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000. We're going to back this up in a little bit. This guy didn't do any of that. This was his fault. We're going to go back to the actual jump. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. I'm just going to put it on mute. No, it wasn't loud. We're going to let it play. So The guys jumped. Everybody jumped out. The last guy is the dude who got injured. So let's pay attention. Let's watch this. Right there. Right there. He gave his static line to the jump master. You see this big loop on his static line? It's looped under his arm. Right? That was the problem. It's looped under his arm. You need to, let's go back and watch this again. In a C-130, you need to get up to the leading edge of the door and actually jump out. Now, I do understand that the training went back and forth. We were taught to jump out of C-130s and we were taught to walk out of the C-141s, the turboprop versus the jet. We were taught to be at an angle and walk out the door. But even when we walked out, you give your static line to the jump master. Again, arms tightly against your side. You got your hands over your reserve and you just walk out at an angle. You just angle yourself to the door. You just walk out. They seem to be using that technique walking out of a C-130. Now, I know that the Army went back and forth on the training, right? I know that they did that, but yeah, this is why I would always jump from a C-130. I would never walk out of a C-130. You know what I mean? Brother Mark is in the building. What's good, fam? Good to see you, man. We just over here talking about the dangers of being a paratrooper. So let's watch these guys exit one more time. And none of them really stood in the door. So you see here, I think this was when the Army was going with the same jump commands as in a C-141, because this is the #1 jumper. Here's the jump master. Looks like the jump master probably told him to stand by. We were told to stand in the door. You wanted that door blast. That was, you just stand in the door. So you were actually, your foot would be hanging over the leading edge of that door. Your hands are on either side of the door. You're sitting there. Your static line is behind you. Jump master has it. He's pulling it tight. So there's no way, if you're #1 jumper in the door, there's no way it can route under you by this point. Hand it to the jump master. You're in the door. And you're waiting for the jump master to smack you on your butt and scream, go. Right? It's a daytime jump, so you wouldn't really be able to see the green light if you're in the door. The way that they're set up and configured here, this is how we jumped out of C-141s. This is how we jumped out of jets. They would keep you back a couple steps. You would angle for the door. So that instead of saying stand in the door, they tell the #1 jumper to stand by. So it's stand by. You're angled at the door. Again, jump master has his stuff. You see how this guy's arm is already down. It's not, to me, it's not tight enough against his body. I would definitely have it tight against my body, but he's covering his reserve parachute so it doesn't inadvertently deploy. So he's standing there right there. He's got, you're telling him to stand by, I guess. And I guess the jump command would have been go. And they're just walking out. Right. I ain't gonna lie to you. To me, this looks real sloppy. Like the way we were trained versus the way it looks like these young guys were trained, way different. You see, go. He just walked out. You see, they're all walking out. I would have jumped. And right there, that guy, it went under his arm. Then the jump master went out and jumps. And that guy just banging against the aircraft. That guy's just banging against the aircraft. It took the Air Force a long time to get to the point where it could bring him in. Why? Because these guys were nervous. It's probably never dealt with this before. And they were able to pull him in. There he is. Look how tangled up he is into that static line. Look how tangled up he is.
Stop it. Back it off. Back it off.
They had to get slack in that static line. Yeah, his circulation was shut off. This man is jacked up.
Pull his arm down. Pull it down. Target's down. Pull it back.
That is the worst type of injury you can get short of dying as a paratrooper. Static line injuries are the most common injuries for paratroopers. They're fucking painful. Some of them can be deforming. Like with this guy, his arm might never be the same. Most of the people I saw with static line injuries were facial injuries. You know, they didn't hand out their static line properly. They were loose with it, like this guy was loose with it. That static line would run across your face and it deployed. I mean, it's the worst Indian burn you can ever get. And it would jack you up. I've seen people who had their muscles messed up and contorted because this guy like this, static lines got up under their arm and routed under them. It just jacked them up. And when we were in, what the guys would do is have that soldier, when it gets better, that soldier is handing out parachutes. And people are like, what happened to you, bro? Because you can see the injury. You can see the damage. He was like, hey, static line injury. And that really wakes you up. Like, oh, shit. Like, oh, shit. It does suck, man, but you got to pay attention. In the Airborne Army, bro, you must pay attention to details. Details matter. Brother Casual Germs is like, yeah, VA can't wait to deny his disability claim. Facts. You're going to have to bring this video in. They're still going to that's not you. Right? Yes. Unfortunately, that's how the VA does this, bro. They make you fight for it. Once you get it, you see, you know, you're pretty good. This guy should be 100% disability. The guy might have had to get out the Army. We have no idea what this injury did to him in his arm. I haven't watched the rest of this video. I'm just kind of fast forwarding to the end, trying to see what we got. Looks like they picked him up and got him on the seat. Let's watch a little bit of this.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, they picked him up. They got him on the seat so they can strap him in so they can land. Still got to think safety first. The airplane could crash, and you don't want him bouncing around in the back.
We're going to get you taken care of when we get back, okay? Hey, there's going to be medics and ambulances and everybody there for you, all right? You're going to be, hey, Maxwell, look at me, buddy. Hey, you're going to be fine, okay? I know it, baby. You're going to be okay, okay? You're going to be all right.
Do you see the love there? Soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen. We care about each other. This man is in their unit. They know who he is. He could be a fuck up or he could be one of the top soldiers. It doesn't matter at this point. He's hurt. He's seriously hurt. And we take care of each other. You hear what they were saying? They used his name. Hey, man, everyone's going to be there, man. We got the medics there. We got the ambulances there. Bro, they're waiting on you. We got you squared away, man. Just hang in there, bro. You're fine. You're going to be fine, bro. You can look at an injury like this and think, come on, DL. I mean, I get it. It's bad. Maybe he broke his arm or something like that. Bro, people can go into shock and die over something like this. Another training op. This is just a regular jump. They didn't even have a mission. This is just a regular jump, probably for currency. Who knows who these guys are? I don't think they're infantry. I was looking at their, I don't recognize the unit insignia, but I don't think they're infantry. Right? These are just probably admin, maybe some mechanics, some cooks or something, whatever. Everybody's airborne. Everybody need their jumps. You know, basically you need to jump once a month. One jump a month, minimum. Guys in 82nd, they're jumping all the fucking time. So, Brother Casual Germ has a question. Does medical discharge mean the service member is guaranteed disability compensation? I don't think so, bro. I don't know the answer to that, but I don't think so. I don't think it's automatic. I think you still have to file and go through the paper. You have to have all the proper paperwork. So let's say that this guy got a medical and he's going to get medically discharged. I think the people in this unit are going to score him away. Hey, make sure you got this paper, this paper. They're going to make sure he has a special bundle, a special packet of everything he's going to need for the VA. Because trust and believe, his first sergeant and his platoon sergeant and his CO, his commanding officer, they're all going to be, hey, make sure he's squared away, especially if he's a good soldier. Make sure he's squared away. We don't want this one mistake to fuck his life up. He's going to need this disability. So I think what it is he's going to get, if his unit is squared away, I think they're going to give him everything he needs and send him right away to the VA, you know, probably before he even leaves the base. And then wherever he goes, and hey, make sure you go right to the VA, probably giving him names, go see Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. They're going to square you away. And if you need anything, call us instead of calling the DOD or whatever. Like if you need it, if they say you need something, call us. We'll get it for you. I think that's how it would go down. But I truly don't know the answer to your question. But I think his unit will take care of him.
Just leave it. He'll be good. Let the medics deal with that. Hey, we got to get buckled in for the landing. Let's do the right thing. Come on, let's go.
All right. You see the NCO in charge, man.
I'll buck you in, brother. Here you go.
Keeping everybody squared away. Keep your arm on him. I'll make sure I get you strapped in. Look at that. In the military, man, we love each other, man. We'll do what we got to do for our fellow soldiers, for our fellow paratroopers, man. They're all sitting down. And that was it. They're showing it again, slow motion. And this is they're gonna stop where I stopped it, probably, where you can see how the static line routed under his arm. Here he comes right now. Is that him? No, it's the one behind him. It was this guy right here. Watch, slow motion. Right there. You see how his arm, there it is, right there. Right there. That's what got him. Right there. And this is why it's so important. They drilled it in our heads. When I went to Airborne school, I went to Airborne school in December of 1990. They drilled it in our head. Have your arms, glued to your sides. You don't want your arms up. Keep your elbow up. Make sure you get that static line routing over your shoulder. You keep it tight. We call it a bite. You got a nice little bite, like kind of like 2 inches, kind of looping down the static line here. The rest of it is up here. You keep it up there. Keep your elbow up. Make sure that static line is routed over your shoulder and then back into the pack tray. That guy gave up that static line and kind of rotated his arm a little bit. Kind of, here you go, and kind of rotated his arm somehow before he brought it down, and he looped it. And that fucked him up. That's the airborne life, boys and girls. You want to be a paratrooper? That's some of the shit you're going to have to deal with. Now, we haven't talked about partial malfunctions in this episode. One day we'll do some more talks about the military. I'll tell you about the time Uncle Saint had a partial malfunction. My parachute was inside out, and I'll tell you how I survived. Right? And just a quick spoiler, I didn't die. Right? I was able to survive, and I'll tell you how it was. We'll probably do that. I don't know, maybe next month or something like that. We'll have another show when we talk about these sort of things. Life in the military is dangerous. Life in the airborne army, or just being a paratrooper in the United States military, extremely dangerous. You must pay attention to details. If you don't, you wind up like that guy we just watched. And you saw what can happen when you walk out of an aircraft, walk out of a C-17, that damn parachute doesn't open up. You're just streaming all the way in. And if you don't follow your training, it's over. Brother Mandrell shows up right at the end. Keep that static line on the opposite shoulder of the door, DL, saying, hey, man, and Brother Mandrell's a Green Beret. Brother Mandrell will tell you, and next time I'm gonna coordinate with him when I tell the story of how I had my partial malfunction. But Brother Mandrell will tell you, he hated jumping static line. He was a guy that jumped, thousands of feet up, tens of thousands of feet in the air. They were doing that. He said all the time, like, man, I hate to jump static line. Like, this shit, I don't like that. Absolute tip of the spear, Green Beret, Army, U.S. Army Special Forces. Right? So, and Brother Mandrell will tell you, it's all about attention to detail. You must pay attention to detail. So I appreciate y'all rocking out with me. We got one more show, 12 midnight. We're going to be talking to Sister Michelle. This is going to be a good conversation, man. We're talking about the new norm, man. This open relationship, poly relationships. Is this the new norm? We're going to be talking about that tonight. If you can, I hope you can make it. I know it's late for everybody on the East Coast, but for our West Coast folks, hope you guys can make it. I'm DL saying, I hope y'all enjoyed this, man. This was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you. Keep your feet and knees together. You be here forever, Airborne. That's something they say in Airborne school. I wonder if they still say that. Anyway, I'm out. Peace.
Nothing like I've ever seen. It's just a thing of beauty.
Darn, that's the end.